Kṛṣṇa and Balaram to Mathura, just by seeing their faces, he became so cheerful that all over his body there were symptoms of ecstatic love. This state is called happiness. It is stated it is stated in the 10th canto, 33rd chapter, verse 11 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Upon seeing that Krishna's arm was placed on her shoulder, one of the gopis engaged in the rasa dance became so ecstatically happy that she kissed Krishna on his cheek. This is an instance of feeling happiness because of achieving a desired goal. Yeah, so this happiness, this is something that we feel every day. I mean, it's extraordinary because people in this material world rarely feel such happiness. But at the same time, for us, it becomes ordinary. It becomes just normal because we experience it day after day very consistently. And the key to this happiness is surrendering completely to Krishna. If you're holding anything back, then there's always going to be some mental agitation, some disturbance of the mind. Because when the soul, when the consciousness comes in contact with the material energy, it's an incompatible situation, a disharmonious energy. So this means that as long as we do not buffer our engagements in this world with the thought of Krishna consciousness, in other words, I am dealing with this material object as part of my engagement in Krishna's service. See? Then the soul, the consciousness, is in touch with Krishna first, and the material world only indirectly. Otherwise, if we have to come directly in contact with material consciousness, oh, this is very disturbing, distressing, actually painful. Because the nature of the material energy and the spiritual energy are profoundly different. They don't go together. They're like oil and water. They don't mix. We can force them, but that's an artificial situation. If we have a bottle with oil and water in it, we can shake it up and artificially mix them by this agitation, see? But then when we stop the agitation and just set the bottle on the counter, they automatically separate again. This is the same thing with our consciousness and the material energy. Consciousness and material energy are so different that they don't go together unless we force them, unless we make some artificial agitation of the mind. And because of this agitation, then we feel suffering, disturbance of the mind. So in the natural state, we don't feel disturbance of the mind, we feel happiness, because the consciousness is in touch with the spiritual energy, beginning with our own consciousness. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. That this absolute truth is known in three phases of the impersonal Brahman, the indwelling Supersoul, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as we advance in spiritual life, we realize all these three, one after another. And this gives rise to great happiness. Eagerness. In the 10th canto, 71st chapter, verse 33 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is said, when Kṛṣṇa first came from his kingdom, Dwarka, to Indraprastha, which is located in modern-day Delhi, the young females of the city became so eager to see him that even at night, when they were lying down with their husbands, they could not restrain their eagerness to see Kṛṣṇa. Even though they were not properly dressed, and although their hair was loose, and there were many household duties to perform, still they gave up everything and immediately went into the street to see Kṛṣṇa. This is an instance of eagerness in ecstatic love. In those times, the women did never go in the street. What to speak of with their hair loose? Oh, this was just like unheard of. Shocking. If a woman went in the street without an escort or without being in a palanquin, then she was immediately considered fallen, a prostitute, like that. A respectable woman in those days was never seen in public. If she went out, she went in a palanquin with the curtains drawn. She was only seen, and without any hair covering, she was only seen by her husband. At all other times, the woman kept her hair covered. The hair is considered the most beautiful aspect of the woman in Vedic culture, the most attractive. So this was only for the enjoyment of the husband. So if these women went out in the street at night with hair uncovered to see Kṛṣṇa, oh, I mean, this is outrageous. This would cause talk and suspicion, as the song says, after midnight. To cause talk and suspicion. Give an exhibition. Yeah, you're too young for these things. Anyway, so the women were going out and seeing Kṛṣṇa, even though they were supposed to be engaged in their household duties or lying down with their husband. This is an instance of eagerness in ecstatic love. In his book Stavavali, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami has prayed for the mercy of Radharani, who was so captivated by the flute vibrations of Kṛṣṇa that she immediately asked information of his whereabouts from the residents of the Vrindavan forest. Upon first seeing Kṛṣṇa, she was filled with such ecstatic love and pleasure that she began to scratch her ears. The damsels of Vraja and Radharani were very expert in talking cunningly. So as soon as they saw Kṛṣṇa, they began their talking. And Kṛṣṇa, pretending to go for some flowers for them, immediately left that place and entered into a mountain cave. This is another instance of eager, loving exchanges on the parts of both the gopis and Kṛṣṇa. You follow? No. Okay. So, Kṛṣṇa is in the forest, and he plays on his flute. And as soon as the gopis hear it, especially Radharani, they immediately go and seek out Kṛṣṇa. And when they see Kṛṣṇa, they become so ecstatic, they're like, wow. Yeah. Scratching the ears. So this is what a person does when they see something like beyond their expectation or their ability to comprehend. It's like, wow. Isn't it? You never done it? Oh. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, the gopis were scratching their ears. And then Kṛṣṇa, he pretended, they started talking about Kṛṣṇa, of course, but in a very indirect way. Because the gopis are very cunning about how they express themselves. So then Kṛṣṇa, knowing, of course, everything, Kṛṣṇa pretended to look for some flowers, but actually he went into a cave. So the gopis could come there and meet him.
Oh.
Duh.
I see.
He's not into spelunking, you know what I mean? So when one comes in contact with a lover, then one becomes very eager to exchange loving affairs. There's no thought of fatigue or whether the time or place is appropriate or not, or it's just spontaneous. So that was the condition of Kṛṣṇa and the gopis. Violence. When Kṛṣṇa was fighting with the Kaliya snake by dancing on his heads, Kaliya bit Kṛṣṇa on the leg. At that time, Garuda became infuriated and began to murmur, "Kṛṣṇa is so powerful that simply by his thundering voice the wives of Kaliya have had miscarriages. Because my Lord has been insulted by this snake, I wish to devour him immediately. But I cannot do so in the presence of my Lord, because he may become angry with me. This is an instance to act violently in ecstatic love as a result of dishonor to Kṛṣṇa. When Shishupal objected to the worship of Kṛṣṇa in the Rajasuya arena at a sacrifice organized by Maharaj Yudhishthir, Sahadev, the younger brother of Arjuna, said, "A person who cannot tolerate the worship of Kṛṣṇa is my enemy and is possessed of a demoniac nature. Therefore I wish to strike my left foot upon his broad head, just to punish him more strongly than the wand of Yamaraj." Then Baladev began to lament like this: "Oh, all auspiciousness to Lord Kṛṣṇa!